Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the best damn movie-related show on the planet Earth, the John Campea Show, coming from right here on my YouTube channel. I'm, of course, your host, John Campea. It's an awesome honor and privilege, as it is every day, to have you, my international friends, join us as we get together and talk about our favorite things in the world, movies, movie news, a little bit of television, a few things here and there. And it's a glorious day in the neighborhood when our own, what do we call you? Our own, not...
The master of fun and wonder.
The master of fun and wonder. Not our metaphysical Mr. Rogers.
The existential Mr.
Our existential Mr. Rogers is here. Mr. Robert Meyer Burnett. Robert, how you doing, sir?
John, I got to tell you, I'm going to be a shill today because something's happening today that I'm pretty excited about. And that is a new YouTube show called Dark Side, Light Side. I've seen advertisements for it. I'm all excited about it. I'm all, dare I say it, a Twitter. I mean, I know we're a week away from 7 weeks of Star Wars starting, but I think a week in advance of that, we're getting Dark Side, Light Side.
Well, that's a great segue into a plug then, because later today, for those of you watching at 2 p.m., myself and Christian Harloff, our new show, Dark Side, Light Side, that's 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, live here on the John Campea YouTube channel. So we hope that many of you guys will come along. And then don't forget tomorrow, now that we've got the technical glitches figured out, tomorrow's, of course, Robert and I are back for the Weekly Hero, and there's going to be a lot of stuff to talk about on the Weekly Hero tomorrow as well. So, I hope you guys will join us for that.
I just want to point out, you did not ask me, nor did you pay me to shill for you. I genuinely am excited about watching one of my bosses and my other boss teaming up to do Dark Side, Light Side.
Well, thank you for that. And listen, guys, we have a bunch of stuff that we need to talk about here today. Martin Scorsese's made some comments that I actually think are pretty good.
Yeah.
And we're going to talk about that in just a bit. Terrific trailer for this new movie called The Banker. We're going to be talking about that in a little second. With Avatar on the way, should Disney be getting a little bit nervous about the Avatar sequels, considering what Alita and the new Terminator are doing in the box office? We'll talk about that in a little bit as well. That, we're going to talk His Dark Materials, bunch of other things. But before we get into any of that, I want to bring this up. Now, y'all know I absolutely love Endgame. I loved Endgame.
Me too.
I think Endgame's great. But one of the criticisms I had about Endgame, and we gloss over it, and that's fine, I do too, was the whole thing that, Endgame has so many logic problems. Like, so many logic holes in the movie that we just forgive because, but what they did was awesome, so we don't worry about it with the big logic problems. Well, I just came across this like 5 minutes before we started the show from our friends over at Cinematical. So the writers of Endgame were actually talking about that sort of stuff, and they brought up an issue that me and my buddy specifically talked about before. Me and my one buddy specifically talked about the amazingness of Captain America getting the hammer, right? And doing all the things with the hammer. And I remember me and my buddy brought up, like, the problem with that scene, though, is, he's summoning lightning and all this kind of stuff, but Thor and Odin's conversation made it clear it wasn't the hammer that was summoning the lightning. It was Thor. It was Thor the whole time and blah, blah, blah. Well, the writers of Endgame have brought this up themselves now. And I love that they did this, but here's what they said. They pretty much acknowledged, made no logical sense, but we just thought it was awesome. I love this comment. This is what they said. This is coming to us from the good folks over at Cinematical. The writers wrote, there was certainly a debate at one point, because particularly in Thor Ragnarok, it establishes, remember, these are the writers talking, it establishes that Thor can summon the lightning without the hammer. I think Odin even says it was never the hammer. And yet, Cap summons the lightning with the hammer. You get to those things and you're like, it's too awesome not to do it. We'll just talk about it later. And I gotta say, I love this comment because it's like, that's what we did. They have a plethora of those things in Avengers Endgame that made no logical sense, but it was so awesome to see. We're just like, who cares? We'll worry about it later. And I just kind of love the fact that instead of like dodging that or double speaking it, they just lean right into it and go, yeah, we did that. But it was just too awesome not to do it. We know it doesn't make sense. We know it was contradictory to the rules of logic within our cinematic universe, but it was too awesome not to have. And I respect so damn much that they just own that and just lean into it, because we all knew it. But what a lot of filmmakers do when fans recognize those things is they try to double talk their way around it and blah, blah, blah. They didn't do that. They're like, nah, it was just awesome. We had to have that because that was awesome. And all of us together go, yes, that was awesome. So I'm glad they said that. I know, Rob, are you surprised that they came out and said that? What do you think about that?
Look, you know me, Mr. Verisimilitude, always looking for reality, trying to explain things. But on the other hand, you are making entertainment. And in a case like this, even I could justify in the back of my mind, maybe Captain America, as far as the universe is concerned, is an exceptional being. But I would go with them. I'm like, you know what? With the shattered shield and holding up Mjolnir, John, one of the most satisfying experiences of 2019 was watching Captain America wield that hammer.
Oh, yeah.
And would I want that? I want to live in a universe where I got to see that, as opposed to a universe where somebody said, well, technically, Odin said, so we're not going to do it. And I'll tell you something. When he almost moved the hammer or moved it a little bit in Age of Ultron, Captain America, for whatever reason, is imbued with whatever special sauce Thor has. There's some of it in Captain America. Maybe as a result of his super soldier serum. In my mind, I think
he's worthy.
He is worthy. And
America.
once you are worthy, regardless if it's you or not, you are worthy. He was his heart, his brain, his combination. Hell yeah.
Anyway, I just thought it was a fun comment. And I'm like, yeah, just own it. Why not? All right. Hey, listen, we got a couple of actual off the tops here that we're going to do. I just wanted to mention that because I thought it was so cool. A couple of actual off the tops here. We're going to go out with this. There is, of course, some of you may have heard, a Bad Boys movie is on the way. Some of you may have heard about that. A new Bad Boys for Life is coming. They put out the first trailer. And while everybody got all excited about it, I'm sorry, that trailer was not very good. It wasn't a good trailer. I know everybody was excited for a new Bad Boys and they were going to love whatever it is they put out. But that first trailer I thought was not very good. Well, they have now kind of out of nowhere dropped a second trailer. There's now a new trailer that they put out for Bad Boys for Life. And I'll tell you what, where I was unimpressed with the first one, it felt slow, it felt old, it felt lazy, got no sense of anything about the movie. This trailer, completely opposite. I really dig this trailer. And I'm not a big Bad Boys huge, fan like a lot of other people are. I thought this trailer was great. And here's why. It's filled with energy. The whole trailer from start to finish is filled with a lot of kinetic energy. Now, that's not appropriate or applicable to a lot of other types of films and movies, but for something like Bad Boys, which is kind of nonsensical, and it's all about that energy and that charisma that a guy like Will Smith and Martin Lawrence, when they're together, they can bring. And so they filled that trailer with it, and I think it really helped the trailer a lot. Now, look, I'm also going to say the trailer also kind of gives away that Bad Boys for Life is probably going to be what we expect it to be. Empty calories. This is going to be an empty calories movie. There's going to be no depth. There's not going to be anything profound about this movie. And you know what? They own that. This trailer owns that. They said, no, look, you want that? Go watch Martin Scorsese. Go watch something else. This is just a fun, we're bringing the Bad Boys back together again, and we're going to bring that kinetic energy, and we're going to bring that chemistry, and we're going to bring that dynamic, and we're going to bring that fun that you guys remember from the previous movies. And this trailer, unlike the first one, for me, Rob, delivered on that promise. Because I saw the first trailer, I'm like, this does nothing to make me interested in seeing it. This trailer, on the other hand, makes me go, yeah, I'll go spend a couple hours in the theater to go watch this. I thought it was a vast improvement. Best trailer of the year? No, but considering what I got out of the first one, I'm pretty happy with this one. What did you think of it?
I liked it. Give me a good cop thriller or a brainless, a calorie-free cop thriller or whatever, or empty calories. I'm in. And the first trailer, I was surprised at how I was unengaged by it. This trailer has a lot more stuff in it. I want to see this. I do like the idea that Martin Lawrence is retired, and it's always going back to the whole idea of family and all that. I think that's good. The only thing this trailer was missing for me was a villain. One of the great things about cop thrillers, I keep going back to even Beverly Hills Cop. Victor Maitland was a great villain. And this didn't, Idris Elba in Hobbs and Shaw, which, by the way, comes out on disc today, 4K, was a villain. In this movie, there was no singular villain because I like villains in my cop thrillers. And I didn't get that from this, but that doesn't mean necessarily anything. But it still looked good. I'll watch it. It looked like a worthy successor to Bad Boys 2, which was one of the most overblown movies I've ever seen in my life, but okay.
But now, you had a theory that you mentioned to me off screen. You have a theory, though, because you just said we didn't see the villains, but you have a theory.
Yes.
Now, this is not a spoiler because you're just guessing as a fan.
I would say that
what was your theory about
the
this
young
trailer?
whippersnappers? I think the young whippersnappers are bad.
You think they're the villains?
I think they're, it's like, it goes, look, there's a long tradition of cops being undercover bad guys in movies. One of my favorites, if you have never seen Internal Affairs with Richard Gere and Andy Garcia, Richard Gere plays a bad cop. And if you want to watch a great double feature, Denzel in Training Day, Richard Gere in, not Infernal Affairs, but Internal Affairs. And it goes all the way back to Magnum Force. Dirty Harry, the second Dirty Harry movie. And I was like, these kids, these young whippersnappers, they're bad millennials. Bad.
I think there's a good chance you might. I think it's a coin toss. I think it's a coin toss between they end up being the bad guys, or number two, they're being set up for a spinoff.
Right.
I think it's one of the two.
Or half of them are bad and the other half are good, and it's a double cross, and then you've got it could be both, John.
Yeah.
It could
Either way, I think they're going to actually play where they look like little side characters. I think they're going to end up being pivotal, either because they're going to get spinoffs or they're villains. We'll have to wait and see. Question is, guys, did you watch the new Bad Boys for Life trailer? If so, what did you think? Jump down into the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right. With that down, let's move on to this next thing off the top, and that is this. Last night on HBO, a lot of people have been looking forward to this. They launched their new series, His Dark Materials, on HBO last night. Now, of course, they've tried to bring His Dark Materials to the screens before with The Golden Compass. That was Daniel Craig, Nicole Kidman. I even think Sir Ian McKellen was the voice of the Armored Bear, if I remember that correctly. At any rate, not a great movie. Didn't turn out so great. They decided to do it to HBO. This, of course, was in the clamoring of when they knew Game of Thrones was coming to an end. We need some material, and I'll tell you what, HBO's crushing it. Some people saw early previews and screeners of His Dark Materials, mostly very positive. So I watched it for myself this morning. I didn't have a chance to watch it last night, but I watched it this morning when I was at the gym on the treadmill. Popped up HBO Now and just watched it while I was on there. This is good. This is really good. Now, I'm going to tell you one thing that bothered me about it, and then I'm going to gush about what I liked about it. The part that bothers me about the pilot episode, the first episode of this series, is the fact that it's a little bit in the writing. And it's a lot of the dialogue is what my buddy used to call explain-o-vision, where the characters, because they can't figure out a way to unveil what is happening in this world. So they have to have characters stop what they're doing and almost turn to the camera and go, here's what's happening, folks. And I found there was a number of explain-o-vision scenes in this. It's like there could have been more creative and artistic ways to do it, but a lot of things, well, you see, little Joey, my Damon does this, and I'm hoping that one, and it's like, why not just mail a page of bullet points to all the viewers and do it at that point? Okay, so that's my one gripe. Rob, when Logan came out, and a bunch of people started saying that they wanted to see an X-23 Laura spinoff. One of my resistances to that was, she's great as a supporting character. I don't know that she can carry something, though. She was great in that role. She was great as the sidekick to him. I don't know that she could carry something. I completely take that back. She's great in this. Now, and that says something because you got James McAvoy in here, who is one of the greats. I mean, I'm appreciating James McAvoy more and more every single time I see him show up in something. And he's wonderful in it too. And the way they set up the world and the mythology of this world and all this kind of stuff, they absolutely do it justice. But I thought Daphne Keane did a much better job than I was anticipating. And that was very exciting to see. And I got to tell you, it was just the first episode. It's just laying the foundation, a little bit of a slow burn. But I got to tell you, Rob, man, I watched this as somebody who's, I'm not the biggest His Dark Material. I read a couple of the books. I'm not the world's biggest fan of those books. I know a lot of people lose their mind for those books. I thought they were okay. I think they get overpraised, to be honest with you. Didn't like The Golden Compass all that much. Didn't have high expectations for this show. But it's all in presentation. It's all in the execution because, dude, I watched this and I really enjoyed it. And I found myself going, is there another episode on? I cannot wait to watch the next one. I know you've been looking forward to this one, but you didn't have a chance to watch it last night.
No, I haven't. I really like the books. And I thought that the Golden Compass I liked half of it. And it was the
motion picture?
Yeah, the motion picture, and it was a little disappointing. I mean, I really like Nicole Kidman in it. But this, to me, this is one of my most eagerly awaited shows. I'm basically a day behind. Yesterday when I got home, after I did our shows and my show, I watched the third episode of Watchmen. So I didn't watch this yet because I had other work to do. But I'm going to watch it today. I'm really looking forward to it. And John, we're going through this incredible renaissance of fantasy on television. Like we talked about Dark Crystal, Age of Resistance. I really like Carnival Row. Now we've got this.
Witcher's coming.
Witcher's coming. It's great to see these kinds of fantasy environments. I mean, this is really a steampunk show because you've got technology and fantasy, and it's really I'm really looking forward to it. I think if they delve into all of it, we're in for quite a ride.
Question is, guys, did a bunch of you have a chance to watch His Dark Materials last night? If so, what did you think of it? Jump down to the comment section below and let me know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that stuff down out of the way, let's now move into our main topics today. How do we select our main topics here on the John Campea Show? Well, it's really rather simple to see you guys come up with the main topics by simply going over to www.thejohncampeashow.com/contact. Once you guys get there, you're going to see a form. Fill it out with your topic or question, hit submit, and then maybe, just maybe, you might see your topic or question featured here on the John Campea Show. So now let's move on to our first main topic of the day. And our first main topic today gets submitted to us by Nino, who writes, "Hello, John. I was just hearing that pre-production on The Fantastic Beasts 3 has started and that they will begin filming in spring of 2020 for a November 2021 release. The second one, quote-unquote, only made about $650 million, being the lowest of the entire Harry Potter franchise, with a budget of a pretty big $200 million, and the reviews and audience scores really weren't the best. Do you think the franchise can still be saved, or will we maybe see another Divergent situation here? Thanks." All right, thanks a lot for the question, man. And yeah, they are moving forward now with Fantastic Beasts. We pretty much knew they were, although, they delayed going into production on it. There was some problems, and there were some concerns coming out of the Crimes of Grindelwald, which, by the way, I got to say, I actually quite enjoyed The Crimes of Grindelwald. And I'm not the biggest Harry Potter fan, but I actually thought The Crimes of Grindelwald was pretty damn good, but not a lot of people shared my opinion on that, and some people are disappointed by it. To raise concerns even more, you're right. It set a troubling descent as far as trajectory goes with the box office. The first Fantastic Beasts film also did not make $1 billion, which you don't need to make $1 billion to be a big hit, but it made $814 million. And it was fairly well received. Not everybody loved it, but it was fairly well received. Then came The Crimes of Grindelwald. Not as well received, and took a pretty significant dip, like about $150, $160 million dip from the previous film. That's not the kind of trajectory you want to see, making only $653 million. But still, it becomes a little bit concerning when it's the lowest grossing of the franchise up until this point. Are we surprised that they're still moving forward? No, because Warner Brothers, and we shouldn't be even remotely surprised, because Warner Brothers has made so much ridiculous money with this franchise that they know that they're only one film away from completely getting back to where it was. This is a franchise right now that doesn't really need to be saved. You're asking, can it be saved? But even the last one, is all the negatives we talk about it made Warner Brothers money. It made them money. So can it kind of get back to its glory? I think Warner Brothers believes it can. As long as you got JK in there, It's a possibility. I think they have some good things to build on. I'm not predicting that the next one's going to be $800 million. I'm not predicting the next one's going to be great, but I think all that potential is there. So I'm not surprised they're moving forward here. Rob, you see that they're moving forward in production. It looks like a 2021 release date. Were you starting to think that maybe they were going to pull the plug on this franchise, or does this seem like exactly what you thought they were going to do?
No, I mean, look. Indeed, it cost a lot of money to make the last one, but $600 million at the box office is nothing to shake a stick at. Now, look, is it going to be the most profitable movie? Is that the most profitable movie in the world? No, but it's part of the Harry Potter franchise, which collectively is worth a lot. The Harry Potter franchise collectively is something people are going to be watching in 50 years. So what they're doing is this movie, whether it's on streaming services or however things are going to be delivered in the future, is part of a much larger, library. And people are going to, as I said, this movie's going to be making money as long as there's children on Earth. As long as there's people that like Harry Potter, this is going to be part of that franchise. So I would assume Fantastic Beasts could even go on past 3. They'll keep the budget down on this one. They'll try and spend less, but I still think it's an important, viable part of the Harry Potter legacy, and they're going to keep making these movies.
So the question here, guys, is, are you surprised by this? Or is it like, come on, guys, the last one made over $650 million. Of course they're not going to pull the plug. Or do you think, yeah, but it was the lowest of the franchise so far, maybe they would? Are you surprised by this? What do you think about them moving forward on this right now? Jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, with that down and out of the way, let's move on to our second main topic today. And our second main topic today gets sent in to us from Digitel, who writes, do you think Disney are going to slow the production speed down on Avatar 3, 4, and 5, and 6? 3, 4, and 5. That's right, because we've already got 2 on the way, until the first sequel is released. The last 2 James Cameron produced films, Alita Battle Angel and Terminator Dark Fate, have not had the box office returns expected. Surely, Alan Horn must want to pump the brakes a little bit. Thanks for sending that in, and of course, don't call me Shirley. Here's the thing, though. Is Disney right now panicking a little bit because the last 2 films that James Cameron produced did not meet expectations? Well, okay, let's look at what that means. Alita Battle Angel made a modestly respectable, for the blockbuster status they were expecting, $404 million. I believe it broke even. It did break even. This was not a bad little movie. It's not a bad little movie. Now, it had a couple of things working against it. Horrible first trailer, subject material that not a lot of people, like in some geek circles, like, oh yeah, we've all heard of Alita Battle Angel. The vast majority of the movie-going audience has never heard of it. So that was a little bit of an uphill climb too. It was a weird sort of presentation to try to sell to people, and it didn't do great. And not everybody loved it. I thought it was actually quite fun and entertaining.
I did too.
But James Cameron didn't direct this film. He didn't direct it. It's so you got to keep that in mind. Now, of course, we got Terminator Dark Fate, which we spoke at length about yesterday, is tremendous disaster. Tremendous disaster. Making just $29 million on its opening weekend. We'll see where it finishes out, and we'll see how well it does overseas. But this is going to be a movie that loses the people who made it anywhere between $100 and $130 million. There's no other way to, and I like this movie, but it's a disaster. There's no way around it. But again, it wasn't directed by James Cameron. Do you know how many movies Steven Spielberg has produced?
Batteries not included, dude. That burned up the box office charts.
I mean, listen, and by the way, how involved he was and all that kind of stuff is up for debate and question as well. But more importantly than all of that, Alita Battle Angel is not Avatar. All right? Terminator Dark Fate, having no good Terminator film since 1991, is not Avatar. Avatar is a film that sat on top of the all-time worldwide box office leader for nearly a decade. And it's a film that a lot of people have been waiting for. I think it's overdue, but what have you. So, absolutely not. I think we're comparing apples to spaceships here. Yeah, James Cameron was involved in Alita Battle Angel, and yes, he was involved in Terminator, but he wasn't the director of either of them, and neither of those properties are Avatar. So, but listen, James Cameron himself said in an interview, we talked about this about 4 or 5 months ago, that, yeah, we're planning 4 sequels, but we're going to do the first 2, and who knows what happens. James Cameron himself, we talked about on the show, said, hey, look, if we do 2 and 3 and they flop, well, we're not going to do 4 and 5, right? So that's always been part of the plan. But honestly, I don't think Alan Horn, who is as seasoned in this business and as intelligent as they come, I don't think he's looking at this and losing 1 second of sleep over Avatar because of what happened with Alita or Dark Fate. I think it's totally removed. Rob, you see the situation. Do you think the results we're seeing these other movies could maybe make Disney a little worried about Avatar?
No, not at all. I mean, look at James Cameron's last 2 narrative features that he directed, Titanic and Avatar. And together, what did they gross collectively at the box office? What? Close to $4 billion, if not over $4 billion. Everybody always wants to bet against James Cameron. As a director, as a writer-director, and I know he's had co-writers on the Avatar sequels, I would never bet against James Cameron at the box office. If he delivers the kind of entertainment he delivered with both Titanic and Avatar, which everybody poo-pooed while those movies were being made up until the day they came out. And remember, even Titanic, it wasn't like it was a huge box office success right away. It played for a long time.
Had massive legs.
It was like the Greatest Showman of its day. And I wouldn't bet against James Cameron. I think they know what they've got. I think James Cameron knows what he's got, and he's not gonna disappoint us.
Do you think, though, there is, I mean, we know not to doubt him and all that kind of stuff. We know that. Do you think, though, there is the potential here that, there have been a number of high-profile films, Rob, over the past couple of years that maybe there were some pretty big expectations for that didn't quite work out the way they had hoped? We're now heading into Avatar, which I think is long overdue. I mean, the Avatar sequels, some of this should have come out 3 years ago.
Yeah.
I mean, let's be honest. They are late on this. But do you think combining all of that, and you're not just looking at James Cameron, but you're looking at industry trends as a whole. Do you think looking at the whole industry like that could be giving them a little bit of pause at that point, or do you think it's not even a consideration?
Well, I think, look, you have to take everything into consideration whenever you're analyzing box office trends, or you're not spending an inordinately. This is a lot of money they're spending, so of course they're going to look at everything. They have to look at everything, and the way that landscape has shifted has. I mean, 5 years ago. Well, 10 years ago, physical media was still a huge part of revenue for Hollywood. I mean, if you look at the precipitous drop in that, I mean, the revenue streams, they used to rely on that revenue stream's not there. It's still, $3 or $4 billion, but it's dropping every year. So they have to look at everything. But again, you've got a filmmaker that if you want to go back even to the very first Terminator, I mean, if you look at his track record, Terminator, Aliens, The Abyss, True Lies, Titanic, Avatar. I mean, he has had a pretty damn solid track record in terms of delivering the goods. I think if there's one filmmaker you could bet on in Hollywood to deliver, it's James Cameron.
So the question here is, guys, do you think at this point, with what's been going on between the whole situation of the different movies and all that kind of stuff, do you think that they may have to go back and pump the brakes on that? Jump down to the comments section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, with that down, let's move on to the next main topic today. And our third main topic today gets sent in to us by Geeky Gator, who writes, "Hey, John and crew. Roland Emmerich recently said that he wished he hadn't continued making Independence Day Resurgence after Will Smith couldn't due to Suicide Squad shooting at the same time. He apparently rewrote the whole movie after losing him. Do you think any actor like Smith should be that vital to a project?" All right, thanks a lot for sending that in, Geeky Gator. And listen, we all know Independence Day 2 was a horrible, horrible train wreck of a movie. And I remember especially being a little bit surprised because, we all had our doubts about it, but I actually thought the trailers for Independence Day 2 weren't all that bad.
Me neither. I was excited.
And I remember a whole bunch of me and my team, we all went to the theater together. I mean, Schnepp came with us too, and a bunch of us went, and we were actually kind of excited. We thought this is actually going to turn out to be pretty good. And oh my God, it was so bad. It was so absolutely terrible. Now, we knew at the time as well that they originally wanted Will Smith to be back for it. Didn't work out. And Roland Emmerich was kind of referencing all that recently. And he talked about the experience. And he basically said this, talking about after Will Smith stepped away and everything. He said, I should have stopped making the movie because we had a much better script. After I had to really fast cobble another script together. And I should have just said no. Because all of a sudden, I was making something I criticized myself, a sequel. I don't really know what he means by that last line per se, but it does raise a couple of very interesting questions here, Rob, for me. Because when Will Smith steps away, clearly, who is going to be the central character of the movie, that changes things. That creates a little bit of an issue and a little bit of a problem. I get that. What I don't really understand is if you lose Will Smith, instead of rushing ahead with completely having to rewrite the script, cobble it together, as he sort of said at the last minute, and do it without your main lead and a protagonist and all that kind of stuff, why not wait? Okay, we can't do it because of Smith's schedule. Okay, if we really want to, and the studio really wanted to make another Independence Day, and I understand why. I got no problem with that. But why not then wait instead of bull rush ahead with something that you're not happy with, that the filmmakers don't want to do and all that kind of stuff, and rewrite it from the beginning? I mean, Rob, look, knowing that the movie sucked, obviously he should have stopped. But understanding the circumstances he was in at the time, do you think it would have been the right thing for him to stop, or do you think it was behoven to them to really plow ahead anyway?
Well, I mean, how different could it really have been? I mean, I think that there's a lot more about this movie wrong than just Will Smith not being in it.
Oh, yeah, you're not wrong.
I mean, the plot was goofy. The alien claw that gripped half the earth. I mean, it was just... I love Independence Day with all my heart. It's one of the greatest movies ever made about giant spaceships blowing stuff up. And I love it. But Independence Day Resurgence, there are some interesting things in it and some really nice effects, but oh my God, how not satisfying was that movie? I was very upset. And I went to a double bill at the Cinerama. I saw both Independence Day and Independence Day Resurgence.
That must have been awful.
And it was just like, oh man. But I think, you know what? If you are going to make a sequel to one of the most celebrated science fiction movies of the 90s, you need to have your ducks in a row. And I think they should have, look, like you said, wait, or maybe not make it at all, because then you tarnish the brand. Although I have to say, over or under, Robert Meyer Burnett owns Independence Day Resurgence on Blu-ray.
I'm not surprised. But you're right. The lack of Will Smith wasn't the only problem, but the lack of Will Smith started a chain of domino reactions. You go to one point where Roland Emmerich says, we had a really good script.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, because he's gone, we had as in his words, cobble together a rush script and all this. And now they had to totally redo it. And I can't help but wonder, what would have an Independence Day 2 look like had they not had to go back to the drawing board and incredibly quickly come up with an entirely new script? It would have been interesting to see.
You're probably right. By the way, I promise never to refer to myself in the third person again on the show. But it just bothers me because, like you said, sometimes you just shouldn't do something because in the long run, the box office, the worldwide box office, it wasn't a good thing to have done.
Yeah.
If he wasn't, and he knew, I mean, I know making movies is so hard, but if you're going into something knowing it's not going to be what you wanted it to be, why do it?
Yeah. At that point, they probably just should have pulled the plug. Absolutely. Question here is, guys, what do you think? Do you think, nah, man, look, it's easy to have hindsight and say don't do it, but in their shoes, it was the right thing to move ahead? Or are you like, no, man, if you lose your main star and your lead character and you can't recast him, you got to redo the script in a matter of 2 months, you got to pull the plug. How do you guys feel about that? Jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right. With that down, let's move on to the fourth main topic today. And our fourth main topic today gets submitted to us by Adrian, who writes, Hey, John, It has been recently announced that Martin Scorsese had initially thought of making a Joker movie for the last 4 years, not just making, but directing himself, by the way. What do you think would have happened if he did direct it? Thanks. All right. Thanks a lot for saying that in, man. And yes, Martin Scorsese continues to talk about Joker and comic book movies and stuff like that. Only I think he's been watching the John Campea Show. Or somebody who's in his ears. I'll get to that in just a second. But yeah, Marty Scorsese just recently revealed that he spent 4 years with this Joker project, thinking that he might direct it. 4 years he's been gestating on this project. I think that's fascinating. That means DC and Warner Brothers were looking at a project like this before Justice League was ever even in theaters. I think the commonly understood narrative has been, as a result of the disaster of Justice League, which I don't think was a disaster, but as a result of the disaster of the Justice League, they started looking for other things. Marty's been looking at doing this for 4 years. Anyway, so why didn't he do it? Well, partially because it's a comic book movie, but I like his rationale. This is what Martin Scorsese said. He said, I thought about it a lot over the last 4 years and decided I did not have the time for it. It was personal reasons why I didn't get involved, but I know the script very well. For me, ultimately, I don't know if I make the next step into his character developing into a comic book character. You follow? He develops into an abstraction. It doesn't mean it's bad art. It's just not for me. I want you to remember those words. It's not for me. The superhero films, as I've said, are another art form. They are not easy to make. There's a lot of very talented people doing good work and a lot of young people really, really enjoying them. So I want to get to, there's two separate things to talk about here. Number one is this whole thing about Joker. And I'm not surprised, Rob, to hear Scorsese. First of all, I was surprised to hear that he's been looking at it for like 4 years. For him to say, and I got to tell you, I respect the hell out of this. For him to say, the more I sat with it, and the articles go on to talk about how he loved the Arthur Fleck character, he just didn't want to transform him into the Joker. That's not for him, And he wrestled with it, and he decided, you know what? That's not for me to do. Because I'm not comfortable with this transformation into a comic book character. And I'll tell you what, I respect Marty Scorsese because I think he knows we were watching for Arthur transformation into the Joker. And if Marty doesn't feel comfortable with that, then go, you know what? This project isn't the right fit for me. So we'll let somebody else do it to take it in the direction that they want to go. I respect that. I think that's great. Do I salivate a little bit at the idea of what a Joker movie would have looked like as directed by Martin Scorsese? Sure. Yeah, I do. I think everybody would. Here's the other thing. So I like the reasons why he stepped away. I do. I think those are the right reasons to step away. I've been saying, though, regarding his comments about comic book movies, I've always said, you know what? Nobody minds that Marty Scorsese doesn't like comic book movies. And I've said from the beginning, but Marty, all Marty has to say is, you know what? I personally don't like comic book movies. They're not for me. I've been saying that over and over again. All you had to say, Marty, is, you know what? Comic book movies, they're not for me. I don't like them. They're not for me. That's all you had to say. And what's he saying now? Now he's saying, it doesn't mean it's bad art. It's just not for me. But now he's lightened the tone a lot. I think he's heard the criticism. He's lightened the tone a lot. Now he's saying there's a lot of these movies are not easy to make. There's a lot of very talented people doing good work. And a lot of young people really, really enjoy them. So he's kind of staying on his thing as it's a different art form, which is fine. They're not for him, which is all he had to say in the first place. But he's saying there's some really good work being done. I think that's in response to a lot of the criticism. But I think it's a good thing for him to say at that point. But anyway, Rob, we're hearing Marty Scorsese was sitting on maybe directing a Joker film for like 4 years. Are you intrigued by what that movie would have looked like? Not that Todd Phillips didn't do a great job. He obviously did. But are you at least intrigued what a Marty Scorsese directed Joker film could have looked like?
Oh, 100%. But like I think the Joker that we got was pretty similar to what we would have seen if Scorsese directed the movie.
Yeah. Maybe just a different third act.
Maybe a different third act. Certainly it would have had a different editorial style, Thelma Schumacher's longtime editor. And if Robbie Richardson had shot it or something, it would have looked different. If his heart's not in it, and ultimately, I think all of Martin Scorsese's comments have led me to come to the conclusion that he just can't get over that a comic book movie could be something that's just as relevant as, say, based on a book, I Heard You Paint Houses, which is set in the real world, obviously.
Which is what they made the Irishman out of.
Yeah, I just think there are people that are prejudicial against certain forms of comics, for instance, being one of them. There are people that they won't read certain kind of genre potboiler novels, whether they're John Norman's gore books, if you know what those are, fantasy, sci-fi, S&M novels. People won't read those. And I think he's got a thing about comic book movies, because I think in his mind, when he was a boy reading comic books, he thinks about what they were like when they cost 10 cents, and you had the Superman family and everything was hunky-dory, and he missed, because how old is he when The Dark Knight Rises came out or Watchmen came out? He didn't read those. So his vision of what comic books are is just different. It hasn't evolved. And maybe obviously at one point he was going to do Joker, and maybe he thought he was the one to bring that evolution to the form. But when he realized that, a movie like Logan can exist, maybe I can't put my mark on it the way I thought I could, and that's why he wrestled with it.
Do you think, though, even in the midst of all of this discussion and the uproar over his previous comments, although I like his comments recently, over Coppola's comments and all that, do you think there would still be a place, though, I mean, as outrageous as some people pretended to be, if they announced tomorrow that Marty Scorsese was going to direct, I don't know, Mr. Freeze movie or a Lex Luthor movie, despite everything that he said before and all that kind of stuff, do you think the audience would still get pretty revved up about that? Because I personally think, just regardless of anything else that was said, I think that would still get people incredibly excited. Or do you think people are past that?
Oh, dude, 100%. If they announced a Martin Scorsese Lex Luthor film and it's about his rise to power and all that, I'm like, bring it on. Can you imagine a comic book version of The Wolf of Wall Street, but with Lex Luthor's rise to power or something? I mean, come on. That would be awesome. I think people would get behind it. I think it would be amazing. And I think he could bring something really unique. And I think anybody who has, if you don't understand that Scorsese just came from a different generation and that his ideas of what comic book movies are just weren't as evolved, and they can be changed. He's the kind of guy that can embrace a new form. I think it'd be great. And there's no reason. He's one of our masters of filmmaking. He has been for decades. And for him to come do a comic book movie, it'd be great. Just like David Fincher, if they finally convinced him to do a Star Wars movie, I'd be like, bring it on, son. Fincher doing, I don't know why he hasn't done a Star Wars movie. Why didn't he direct Force Awakens? I don't know.
Question here is, guys, what do you think about that? How different do you think this Joker movie would have been, or different at all, if Martin Scorsese had actually directed it? Do you like his reasons for stepping down for it? And do you like the fact that he's really seemed to soften his speech on the whole comic book movie issue and all that kind of stuff? What do you think about it? Jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right. With that down, let's move on to the fifth and final main topic today. And our fifth and final main topic today gets submitted to us by Luca Gurini, who writes, "Hey, John and gang. I just saw the new trailer for The Banker with Anthony Mackie and Samuel L. Jackson. It seems to have both comedic and inspirational elements. Have you seen it? And if so, what are your thoughts on it?" All right. Thanks a lot for the question, Luca. And yes, listen, so this question came in yesterday and I hadn't seen the trailer yet. And I'll be honest with you, I completely forgot about this movie.
Right.
I remember about 4 or 5 months ago, it brought us like, ooh, really? Samuel Jackson and Mackie? Okay, that sounds good. And then I haven't thought about it since. Totally forgot about it. And it's like, then there's a trailer. Great. So I pop over and go see the trailer. Now, you guys know a couple things. I'm a sucker for based on true story movies. I'm totally a sucker for based on true story movies. I'm also a little bit of a sucker for based on true stories in recent time periods. I like that a lot too. I sat down and watched this trailer, and I knew nothing about this real life story. I knew nothing about it. But by the end of this trailer, all I knew was, hot damn, I got to see this movie. I got to see this movie. And who's the kid? Who's the kid who plays Beast? Holt? Nicholas Holt? Is that who plays me?
Nicholas Holt.
Nicholas Holt looks so good in this trailer. When he first pops on screen, I'm like, is that Nicholas Holt? That seems like an odd casting for something like this. But as the trailer played out, I'm like, oh my God, he's perfect fit in this. And Samuel Jackson is gold. And you know what? He brings that Samuel Jackson flavor, but he's not too Samuel L. Jackson.
Right.
Jackson, you know it? And Anthony Mackie is he's a treasure. I love Anthony Mackie. He brings an enthusiasm and a charisma to his movies that we don't see too terribly often. So I'll tell you what, this trailer came out of nowhere for me, and I am now dying to see this movie. I thought it looked great. Rob, you had a chance to take a look at it. What do you think?
Same thing. I mean, it's funny, the Anthony Mackie, Sam Jackson pairing up, I think is really working. I mean, it looks like I love it's
Nick
hard
Fury and Falcon.
I know. It's hard to believe Sam Jackson's 70.
I know, right? He comes across as an early 50s guy. Early 50s, easy.
And everything he does. I mean, there's just something about his screen presence. And I think Anthony Mackie is really a star in the making. Yeah. Because I always forget the name of this movie. I watched him in this Netflix movie, kind of a post-apocalyptic, where I
can't remember it.
Yeah, but he was really good in that too. And I love seeing him in this kind of a film. It's not something I would normally have said, oh yeah, Anthony Mackie's going to be in this kind of a movie. But I really am excited. I mean, it really looks to be good.
Question here is, guys, have you had a chance to see this trailer for The Banker? If so, what did you think of it? I loved it. Maybe it didn't turn your crank. Whatever. Jump down into the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. Okay, guys. With all of our main topics now down and out of the way, we're going to move on and take your live questions. You guys have been sending in the live questions. We're going to take a little bit of a break first, though, to stretch the legs, rest the vocal cords, refill our drinks, go use the bathroom quick. So if you guys will hang tight and be patient with us, we will be back in just 4 minutes. Hang tight with us, guys. We will be right back with your live questions. All right, and we are back. Thank you guys for your indulgence as we took a minute to get things put back together here. All right, now let's jump in and start taking your live questions. And we're going to get things started off with, we're right down at the bottom of the page. Let's go up to the top. I'll start with The Wonder One, who writes, according to the countdown on their website, Disney Plus will launch November 12th at 3 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Why 3 a.m.? Beats me. Yeah, I've been hearing that because we talked about this the other day.
3 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, huh?
Yep. 6 a.m. 6 a.m. on the East Coast. That seems as good a time as any. First thing in the morning on the East Coast, launch. 3 a.m. That gives me a chance to watch the first episode of The Mandalorian before doing this show. I'll go to bed at like 8 p.m. the night before, set my alarm for 3 a.m., get up to watch it. I mean, some say, why not 12:01? Well, why 12:01? Why not 3 a.m.? Why not? I don't know. Does that strike you as surprising at all, Rob?
Well, no, because, I mean, think about it. 3 a.m. Pacific Time, normally, like, Netflix launches their stuff at 12:01 Pacific Time,
Right.
which is 3 a.m. East Coast Time. So, I mean, it makes me like, I kind of want to stay up. I want to stay up or go to bed and
early.
get up.
I'm going to bed early.
Then are you going to go right online and do a reaction video right when it's over?
No, I think I'm going to wait till Ann has a chance to watch it.
Right.
And so, because I think Ann and I are going to be doing a Mandalorian follow-up show every week.
Because I'm so excited for Mandalorian. Like I have
1 week
I
away.
have a Star Wars boner for the Mandalorian. I have to tell you, dude. I'm feeling the blood flowing into my body. I mean, I'm getting all tingly about it, and I think it's going to be great.
Next up, Timbula the Spider Monkey writes, I have a pet John would love, a cat named Ahsoka. I don't like cats and I don't like Ahsoka. So that's the perfect storm there, Timbula. Perfect storm.
Yeah, but he lives in Australia, so he's a cool guy.
Yeah, of course. Casinema Reviews writes, 1 of 2. Went to see Jojo Rabbit. Best word I can think of to describe it, delightful. Before it started, meaning before the listed showtime, they showed clips from Taika's old movies and some mini documentaries on other comedic takes on Hitler. This was at Alamo Drafthouse. It was far better than ads.
What a cool idea.
That's a great idea. As a matter of fact, the last time I went to an Alamo Drafthouse, I went to go. What did I go to see there? I can't remember. Oh, I went to go see The Farewell. And you know they have a don't talk or text doing the movie. What they had was Ethan Hawke and what's the girl's name for the Before Sunset star with him? But anyway,
Julie Delpy.
Julie Delpy. It had them doing a scene. They're standing on a balcony looking out over a city, and I just remember when my mother would blah blah blah. And they were doing a scene. I'm like, what the hell is this? And all of a sudden, Julie goes, wait a minute, I'm sorry, I can't do this. Somebody in the fucking theater has their phone out. And it like starts freaking out. I'm like, this is the best put your phone away spot ever. Now look, I have some philosophical problems and some personal issues with Alamo Drafthouse, particularly with the people that run it. But that aside, credit where it's due. They do some really good things. Their in-theater experience is very, very good. And that one was one of the coolest things. And putting a little document. And by the way, they did the same thing for The Farewell as well. They did a little bit of a mini 7-minute documentary of the director of The Farewell and what inspired her to make the movie. Way better than trailers and commercials. Way better than trailers. I hope more people take notes on that. All right. Jordan Ross Weinhold writes, Jeffrey Wright equals one of my favorite actors. He is Gordon. Have you seen him in Angels in America? Oh, he won a lot of awards for Angels in America, as a matter of fact. Won Tony for Broadway production and Golden Globe and Emmy for TV adaptation, acting opposite Streep and Pacino. It's heaven. Yeah, Angels in America, it wasn't just him. I remember at that time when that miniseries came out, it was in the midst of a span of years where Pacino hadn't really done anything worthwhile. And then Angels in America came out, a miniseries. And he won a lot of things too. But I'm telling you what, dude, I have been so ecstatic about Jeffrey Wright being cast as Gordon. I just think it's one of the great moves. I really like it a lot. Rob, I know you've liked this too.
Oh, I love Jeffrey Wright. I mean, I've loved him in everything. He played Basquiat. I think that was the first time I saw him. I've loved him in almost everything I've seen him in. And I loved his take on Felix Leiter. And I've loved him in Westworld. What's not to love? He's going to bring He's going to bring a certain internal, I think, calmness, yet cunning. And I can't wait to see him as Jim Gordon.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be great.
I think he's going to be fantastic. All right. Next up, Alvin Elmore writes, I took my goody two-shoes, hardcore Bible-thumping 65-year-old mother to see Joker, and she loved it. I was shocked. Hey, listen, one of my closest friends in the world, although I don't see or talk to him nearly enough for the last few years because I moved away out of Canada, but he's actually like the senior pastor of one of the biggest churches in Canada. His name's Bruxy.
Bruxy?
Bruxy, yeah. Bruxy, Bruxy. Bruxy.
Wow.
Is his name. Anyway, one of these like throwback to the like long-haired, beard, beads, hippie, the philosophy and psychology degrees, straight out of Woodstock kind of dudes. But anyway, he is a hardcore pacifist. Hardcore pacifist, right? But I've never seen somebody who loves his horror and action films more than this dude. Because movies are movies. Real life is real life. Movies are movies. Yeah, so I'm not surprised that your mother, who's a hardcore Bible thumper, loves that kind of a movie. Why? It's escapism. Why not? Why not? And there's so much about it to love. All right, Murray Reich writes, have you seen the last week's episode of Arrow, episode 3? I did. That's some straight up bullshit. Now, I'm not going to give it away. Did you see it, Rob?
Yeah.
I'm not going to give it away for those who haven't seen it. All I'm going to say is, damn the freaking Oliver's idiot kids. That's all I'm going to say.
Somebody said that last week that you were not going to like the third episode. And after watching it, I'm like, yep, John's not going to dig this.
And I was fine with it, except for the parts with Oliver's idiot kids and then the end. I'm like, damn it, the freaking Oliver's idiot kids. Anyway, the Wonder One writes, got Apple Plus 1 year free, so I started watching The Morning Show. Really enjoyed it. Great commentary on the hashtag #MeToo, showing different sides of the conversation. I just got an email out of nowhere saying, you've recently purchased a qualifying Apple product. It's like, well, I did. I bought an iPad Pro recently. It's like, so you get 1 year free of Apple Plus. I'm like, oh, okay. I haven't started watching anything yet. But Ann and I are both curious, and I've heard great things about The Morning Show, so I am going to check that out at some point. Jordan Ross Weinhold writes, Disney originally wanted Jim Carrey for Jack Sparrow. I thought I heard that before. That would have been different. But remember, he was the hottest star in the world for a little while.
Yeah.
And that could have been very interesting.
Now he's in Sonic the Hedgehog.
Now he's the bad guy in Sonic the Hedgehog.
No, you know what? It might be a tremendous comic performance, and Sonic might be the movie of the year. Who am I to disparage Sonic the Hedgehog?
And don't forget, this is the same guy who was like Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. I mean, who knows what he would have brought to that? It could have been interesting. All right, Suthius writes, hey guys, been thinking about moving to Florida. Then I saw Crawl, which, by the way, if you haven't seen Crawl, it's a fun little movie. Nah, I'm good. Virginia will do. Florida is just another word for crazy place. Well, I've only ever been to Florida once in my life. And that was for Star Wars Celebration Orlando. It's the only time I've ever been there. But a lot of the stuff I hear coming out of Florida reminds me of a lot of stuff I see coming out of Australia. If you ever want something fun and horrifying, go on YouTube and search up videos, why to never go to Australia or never live in Australia.
Dude, Australia rules.
Oh, I'm sure it's gorgeous.
Sydney
I've never been there.
is one of the great cities in the world.
I'm just saying, there are some awesomely fun videos about like with the fox bats and the
Dude, they're flying spiders. Giant huntsman spiders can float through the air because they can shoot out webbing that lets them, and they're huge.
Yep, that's a whole lot of nope for me. Whole lot of nope. All right. Let's see. Nat Park writes, hey, JC and all, just finished the first 3 episodes of C for All Mankind on Apple TV Plus. They were surprisingly engaging, but they are a slow burn, so it does take 3 episodes to start getting very good. Dickinson, that's the one Anne really wants to watch. Dickinson and Morning Show were interesting, but not for me. Have you seen them yet? Thoughts? No, I haven't started watching any of them yet. And listen, I've heard decent things about C, which is interesting because I thought it looked like garbage. C looks so stupid.
Who wants to watch a show about people that can't see? Like a whole.
And the trailer did nothing to make it look interesting to me.
I mean, I just don't believe. Maybe they'll explain how they can like ride horses and all that. Like, how do you know where
My biggest question coming out of the trailer, I remember because Chris Carr was sitting here and we were talking about. It's like, okay. A world where nobody can see, right? Why is Jason Momoa wearing jewelry? Who made his pretty necklace? Who cut their hair? I mean, it just, and again, maybe the show gives rational explanations for all of it. I'm just saying that I just thought the trailer was pretty good. Okay, Tyrone, why is he wearing jewelry? I'm just wondering. Why is he wearing jewelry?
Question.
All right, let's see here. Suthius writes, the 12 qualifying men's teams for 2020 Olympics have been announced. Canada is indeed one of the nations. U.S. didn't make it. Are you excited? Yeah, I'm always excited for the Olympics and, of course, for Team Canada hockey and stuff like that. It is the time where we shine our glory the most in the world's greatest sport, ladies and gentlemen, the world's greatest sport. All right, Suthius writes, rewatch Back to the Future. Lorraine is a big horn dog. You can tell in her eyes she wants to ravage Marty when he wakes up like no one's business. True. I mean, but that's what they were going for in the scene, was it not?
Yeah.
I mean, because if she wasn't, I mean, she had to come across that way because that just increases the feel of the awkwardness of the moment for the audience because it's her son. And you don't feel that awkwardness nearly as much if she plays it more coy. So I think they played it absolutely right, Rob. Or did they overdo it?
No, I don't think they overdid it at all. It's not like she at the time knew that was, I mean, he was the new kid in town. He was Calvin Klein. He looked good. He was wearing an awesome jacket, rocking that Guess denim. Who wouldn't want to jump his bones?
Good Canadian kid, by the way.
She just didn't know it was, her son.
Which makes it awkward. Kenneth Colton writes, watch the premiere of His Dark Materials on HBO, then The King on Netflix. Both are amazing. I've been hearing different things. Again, for the most part, everything I've been hearing about His Dark Materials from people was quite popular. Not everybody's loving it. There are some storytelling issues about how they lay out the story and how they execute. Like Explain-O-Vision is one of them, and it's a little bit of that and a little bit of a slow burn, but overall, I quite enjoyed it. I'm glad you did too, Kenneth. Suthius writes, watch Shaolin vs. Lama, one of my favorite kung fu movies of all time. Kind of annoyed me. You know the rules. We don't accept new students, but they have students training. Well, it doesn't say we don't have students. It says we don't accept new students. Big difference there. The dub is glorious, though. The dub is so hilarious. The drunken master, he'll fight to the death for a piece of fried chicken. Oh my God. You think I'm joking?
What?
You think, you brought me chicken. And the dub with it is so glorious. It is one of the best. If you guys get a chance to watch Shaolin versus Lama, you got to dive in there and do it. Suthius also writes, I remember watching Back to the Future when I was young and being blown away with concept of alternate timelines. Tis why I love it in TV and movies today. I still don't like it.
You don't like Back to the Future 2?
Oh, of course I like Back to the Future 2. Not nearly as much as I like Back to the Future 1.
Well, of course.
I'm still not a big fan of alternate timelines and things like that. To me, it's a little bit lazy, but there are some examples of it being used really, really well. And that would obviously be one of the ones that did it really well. All right. Tucker Flynn writes, one of three. Top 12. Kill Bills. Number 11, Captain America, the First Avenger. I think the third most underrated comic book movie of all time. Number 10, Die Hard, 88. Number 9, A Time to Kill, 96. Number 8, The Simpsons. Really? I've never seen somebody put The Simpsons on there before. Number 7, The Big Lebowski. Number 6, Her. Number 5, Mulan. The 89 or the 98 animated one. I quite like that one as well. Number 4, Who Framed Roger Rabbit. Number 3, Girl Interrupted. I've never seen somebody put that on the list. That is a brilliant, brilliant film. Number 2, Go. Again, I've never seen anybody put that on the list. And number 1, The Plague Dogs, which I'm not familiar with, 1982.
It's animated.
Is a child film that ruined my childhood, but is totally awesome. It's about 2 dogs who escape testing at a lab, but who are hunted after the government reports that they have the plague. This sounds traumatizing.
It is.
So you've seen it?
Oh yeah, I own it.
What do you think about it?
It's a great movie. There were 2 movies. One was Watership Down, and the other was Plague Dogs.
Well, I was very familiar with Watership Down.
And yeah, it's exactly like it sounds. And they're both based on books as well.
I'd never heard of it. And is it true that 2 dogs have a plague?
I'm not going to tell you.
Okay, fair enough. But that sounds traumatizing. Holy crap, I haven't even seen the movie and I feel like I need therapy.
They might have the plague, John.
Oh, okay. Anyway, Bullet 1510, right? Ant-Man 3 to intro stature for the Young Avengers. I don't think they're going to go Young Avengers in any way.
Yeah, I don't know if they do.
Yeah, I'm going to guess no, but hey.
Maybe, because that would be his daughter, Cassie, maybe.
Right.
I mean, maybe.
I mean, it's look, one of the things we found out from Kevin Feige is that nothing's off the table ever. I still don't think it's likely, but nothing's off the table.
I think it would be pretty interesting, like if they do have the Fantastic Four, what if Michelle Pfeiffer says, I'm not the only one in the quantum realm that needs rescuing?
Well, though we talked about that yesterday.
And
I love the theory.
One family rescuing another.
Could be fun.
Could be good.
Let's see. This is a placeholder name writes, everyone is talking about Paramount, but Terminator was co-financed by Fox. Disney is now losing even more money on the deal. Well, right, it's that. Skydance was also a co-finance. They had several co-financers. I think they realized they needed to mitigate the risk because they knew there was some sort of a risk, but still, this is not a good look for anybody.
No.
Not a good look for anybody. And by the way, it depends on the deal. Like, it is conceivable here that Fox doesn't lose a dime. Because you could, I'm not saying they did, I'm just saying you could make an arrangement. It was like, so let's say Rob has a business venture. He wants to make a documentary about, I don't know, the history of the shoehorn. Who created those little wooden slides that helps you get your foot in your shoe?
Where
okay.
did you come up with
I don't know. I just had to come up with something. And he's like, okay, it's going to cost me $20,000 to make. I'm like, okay. And he wants me to put up $5,000. All right. I can go, fine, I'll put up the $5,000, but I want a provision in our agreement, in our contract, that says I get first dollar of everything that comes in up until my $5,000 is repaid, and then we split the rest however ways. I'm not saying that's the deal they had with Fox, but I'm just saying when you're co-financing, there are provisions you can put in to minimize your own risk. So they could say, hey, I'll tell you what, okay, I'll put in $10 million for this movie, but I want every dollar that comes in from this movie up until my $10 million is repaid, and then we split it up however, the provision. You could do that. And I'm just saying it is possible they've done that. You've probably seen that arrangement before, Rob.
Yeah.
So it's a first dollar gross sort of thing. So maybe they did lose money with it with Paramount. Maybe they didn't. It all depends on how they worked out their deals. All right. Bullet 1510 writes, Rob, seen Jojo Rabbit yet? It has a 98% on Rotten Tomatoes.
I have not seen Jojo Rabbit yet.
I know you're planning on it, though.
Yes, I am planning on it this week. There's so many movies in the queue, and then this weekend, I'm going to rock some Midway.
Yeah, I'm excited about Midway. Talking
but
about
I
Roland
really
Emmerich.
want to see Jojo. I'm a huge Taika Waititi fan, so I can't wait to get
You're
to it.
going to be a bigger Taika Waititi fan when you see this.
Yeah.
Trust me. Benny95 writes, my girlfriend loved both of your responses to her Star Wars remark. I can't remember what the Star Wars remark was.
I don't remember.
I can't remember, unfortunately. But I'm glad she liked our comments,
Yeah.
Benny. Nathan Oswald writes, birthdays. Kella Settle? I don't know who that is.
Yeah.
Turns 44. Sam Rockwell is 52. He's amazing.
I can't believe he's 52.
I met Sam Rockwell at a special Directors Guild screening on the anniversary of Taxi Driver in New York City. Me and Dennis Zen flew to New York City specifically because we were told Martin Scorsese will do an interview with you. And Dennis and I hate to fly. And Dennis and I both went, well, for that, we'll go.
How come you hate to fly?
I have a fear of heights. I don't like flying. I fly all the time, but I don't like it. And I don't like New York City. But, so we decided, okay, fine, we'll go. We'll go down just to interview Martin Scorsese. He's a legend. So we, move our whole life schedule around. They told us on 2 days' notice. If you want to come down to the special anniversary screening of it, you get, 15 minutes with Martin Scorsese. Fine. So we get on a plane, take a terrible flight to New York City. We land, Dennis and I get off the plane, turn our phones back on, and the first thing we get are these messages. Hey, just heard they had to cancel the interview with Martin Scorsese. But you're still invited to go to the screening. So I still went to the screening, all pissed off. But one of the highlights was I got a chance to meet Sam Rockwell and chat with Sam Rockwell there. So yeah, Sam Rockwell, 52. Sorry, let's get back to those birthdays things there. Tilda Swinton is 59. She's awesome. Bryan Adams, summer of 69. Everything I do it for you. Turned 60 years old. Robert Patrick is 61. Armin Shimmerin. Who's that?
Shimmerman, Quark from Deep Space Nine.
Oh, yes, is turned 70. 70 years old. Thanks for sending in those birthdays, Nathan. Benny95 writes, there's rumors of a fourth Star Wars trailer, perhaps international trailer, with darker footage and more glimpses at Palpatine, etc. Would this be a good idea? It would be a good idea, but I don't believe that. I don't believe they're actually going to do it. They made a kind of a big deal saying the final trailer. But yes, I think it would be a good idea if they did. I think it would be great. Rob, what do you think?
Look, I don't want to see anything more. I want to see the movie. That's all.
Now, you may not, but wouldn't it be a good idea for the marketing of it?
Of course it is. I mean, look, man, I want to see Palpatine shooting some force energy into the sky, taking out he's powering up those Star Destroyers, whatever the hell he's going to do. I want to see that.
Could be interesting.
I want to see him fighting Luke with his green lightsaber.
I'm going to lose control of all my bodily functions.
I know, it's not going to happen, but I want to see it.
Syrian Douglas writes, secret screening of Ford v Ferrari last night. It's flawless. Well, I'll tell you what, Rob and I are going to go see Ford v Ferrari tomorrow night.
Dude, I'm so excited.
I'm very excited about this. I'm very pumped about it. I've been dying to see. I don't go to a lot of press screenings anymore, but for Ford v Ferrari, I will make an exception. I'm looking for it. So I'm glad you liked it. Duke Silver writes, saw JoJo best of the year? No, awesome. Yes, 8 out of 10. For me, it is the best of the year so far. So far. Again, I got a number of big ones I still got to see, but JoJo for me right now is number one. It is completely awesome. Sam O'Neill writes, hey, John, hopefully Rob is still around. He is.
I am.
One of two, Rob, just turned 23, and as a kid, Agent Cody Banks was one of not my favorite movies, or if not my favorite movie out, and is still up there, and I thank you for that. 2 of 2, running of the Godzilla anniversary. I was just in Japan and I stayed at the Godzilla Hotel. It was so cool for my birthday. We had a brekkie right beside his head. I'm not sure what any of that means.
I think brekkie. We had brekkie right beside his head.
We had brekkie right beside his head.
Oh my God.
So Rob, I mean, you touch lives with Agent Cody Banks. And by the way, I'm sure a bunch of people watching this show right now maybe have missed it when we said it before, but you are one of the producers of the 2 Agent Cody Banks films.
It's true. I'm the only single card credited producer, too. I didn't have to share my credit with anybody. And so, yes, although I apologize to everybody for the second one. I really do.
What about the Godzilla? Did you know the Godzilla Hotel existed? What is that?
Yes, and it's Godzilla's. Is it the 60th or 65th anniversary? And this week, by the way, if anybody's a Godzilla fan and you collect physical media, Barnes & Noble is having its 50% off sale on Criterion discs. They have it twice a year, and they did it just in time. They released the Showa box set of Godzilla movies. That's from the first Godzilla movie to the mid-70s. So it's 15 Godzilla movies. It's half off. It just came out. It's in a big, cool book. It's so awesome. What a deal. What a stocking stuffer.
What a time to be alive.
And thanks for the commentary. By the way, the guys who co-wrote Cody Banks, Ashley Miller and Zach Stentz, co-wrote X-Men First Class and Thor.
There you go. All right. Next up here, Fried Cheese Macaroni Ball writes, because Scorsese was too short for the Joker theme park ride? Maybe that's why he didn't direct the movie. All right, Sam O'Neill also followed up and write, also just listened to an old Weekly Hero and totally agree that Infinity War elevated Doctor Strange as a character in the MCU. Oh, it did.
Yeah.
It did. For a second there, I was thinking you were saying Endgame. I think that did. Obviously, the Doctor Strange movie established him. But it was Infinity War that really elevated him to he's clearly going to be one of the main guys in the MCU moving forward.
For sure.
Absolutely, Sam. All right, Duke Silver writes, over under 60%, the new Justice League movie by 2024. Under. I'm not going to say 0, but by 2024. And I do believe we are going to get another Justice League movie, but not within the next 5 years. So I'm going to take the under 60%. I might take over 10 or 15, but under 60, Rob.
Dude, they can't even get us a Flash movie.
Can't even get us another Superman movie.
I mean, yeah, I'm going to take under on that too. Although I'd love one. By the way, I'm just building my Hot Toys Justice League collection. The Flash just came out.
Ooh. I liked Ezra Miller's Flash in Justice League.
I did too.
And I thought he looked really good too.
I did too. And Affleck's
Batman looks so good.
Out next.
All right, Magic K writes, over under 20%, Marvel will send it, I probably mean the Eternals, to film festivals. 20 is a good number, but I'm still going to take under. It just hasn't been their way of doing that. So it's not impossible. I'm going to take under.
I would say under because if they send it to a film festival, then the cat's out of the bag. You know, if there's anything, then they don't want to do that.
And they tend to be very protective. By the way, did you hear about what happened on set of the Eternals? There are reports going around right now that they had to evacuate the cast off the set because they found a bomb on set. Now, the report I read...
What?
Yeah, the report I read said, I'm forgetting where, they're shooting it somewhere in some exotic location right now. But the report I read said there's a strong possibility. There's no indication that it was set there deliberately or to target the production. And they're saying they're actually shooting at the location of an old Nazi base where they think somebody may have just come across some old munitions and decided, you know what, let's not take any risks. And they took all the cast off set. Now, that report could have been BS, but I was reading that around on the news services this morning before we started this show, which I thought was pretty interesting.
If there's Nazis in the Eternals, that would be awesome.
That would be so
if they tied
prophetic.
it into Hydra and doctors, because the Eternals have been around for a long time on Earth.
Be very prophetic.
And the Deviants.
All right, Devilman writes, I've been watching old Collider Heroes episodes, and I started to tear up when John Schnepp talked about comic book stories that he wanted to see made into movies. You and Rob were on the show too, episode 8. Those are, you know, I'm gonna tell you something right now too. I have not rewatched any of you, me, and Schnepp's episodes of Heroes since he passed away.
I haven't either. And if
I can't. I just
episode
I can't do
8
it.
was like the second episode I was on, because I was on episode 6, and I think it was still AMC.
Yeah, because you came in very early.
Yeah.
Yeah. Was it still AMC when you came on for the first time?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I remember when I was putting together my own tribute video to Schnepp, I went back and watched a couple things, but I couldn't. I don't know why I couldn't watch. I couldn't to this day. I haven't gone back and watched those old Heroes episodes.
No,
I haven't. I don't think I'm ready. Don't think I'm ready. Anyway,
it's weird that I still don't believe he's gone. It's hard for me to grasp that.
Yeah, I mean, look, I still Facebook has that feature now where 2 years ago today you posted this picture, 5 years ago today you posted it, and I swear to God, in the last 2 months I've had like 4 or 5 pictures of me and shit pop up in there, and it's like, and it still seems surreal because it just still seems like I feel like he's still hanging around in LA somewhere.
Yeah.
Thanks for sending that in, Devilman. Appreciate that. Ryan Trabuco writes, John, your companion video speech yesterday to Warner Brothers shareholders regarding why they shouldn't do a Joker 2 was applause-worthy. Well, thanks. So for those of you who missed it, somebody wrote in, understandably.
I missed this.
Somebody wrote in and said, John, at almost $1 billion, how could you possibly justify to the shareholders not doing a Joker 2? And what I said was this. I said, okay, look, if I'm Walter Hamada and I've got to go in and talk to the shareholders who want me to do a Joker 2 now because this first one made so much money, and I need to make a case for why we don't do one, simply say this. We don't do one because we as a company have buried ourselves thinking short term. That is what we have done since we tried to get the DCU going. This company has repeatedly made short-term decisions without taking into consideration the long-term ramifications. I have a plan that is working. A plan to reestablish our credibility with our audience, a plan to start stringing together some successes, and a plan to start establishing a reputation with our audiences that we are about excellence. And I have a plan, and the plan is working. And you're telling me that because my plan is working, we should scrap my plan? We risk derailing ourselves if we go and do a movie we never intended to do that could diminish the goodwill we've been building up with our fan base and our audience. And it is time for us as a company to stop thinking short term, and we need to start thinking long term. Because if we do a Joker 2, we might make some short-term money, but we could be doing it at the sacrifice of long-term profitability. Whereas if you let me do what my plan is, we will be making much more money over a longer period of time. Let me do my job. That's the argument I would make. If I'm Walter Hamada and I got to get in front of the board and make a case for not doing a Joker 2, that's the case I make.
I almost teared up.
It's almost like I worked in law at some point. I should have stayed a lawyer. Anyway, Ryan Trabuco writes, also, scratching my head about this news yesterday about the NFL and talks about moving the Chargers to London. The Chargers? What is this nonsense? It makes perfect sense. For those of you who didn't hear, and I'll do this short because I know not a lot of people like when we talk about sports, but the NFL has been doing games in London for the last couple of years. They'll do a game or two every year in London, and it sells out. It's huge. It's a huge opportunity for them to make more money. And there is some discussions right now that the Chargers might be the team to move there. And it's the perfect team to do it with. Listen, right now, the Chargers are in LA. Nobody cares about the Chargers in LA. As far as the NFL goes, this town is a Rams town. It just is. I like the Chargers. I love Phillip Rivers. But this is a Rams town. Right now, more people, when there's a Chargers home game right now, there are more fans of the opposite team in the stands than there are cheering for the Chargers. It's a terrible situation for the Chargers. They are the second fiddle team in this town, and they're a pretty decent little team. So if you're looking for a team that makes the most perfect sense to move, not that I'm saying that makes the most sense to move a team to London, but I'm saying if you're going to move a team to London, that makes the most sense.
I think it'd be cool to have the London anybody in the NFL. The London Chargers.
Oh, I thought you were going to say that you should actually name the team. The London anybody.
The London anybody against the Seattle Seahawks. No, I think the London Chargers is kind of a cool name, but you'd have to have like you need a Blighty centric name. I
want them to be the London Bridges. London.
That's not formidable. You walk all over a bridge, that's John. Right.
The London Bob's your uncle. The London Monty Pythons. There. You move a team there and call them the London Monty Pythons. It's not formidable, but I would still like it a lot. All right. Robert Johnson writes, 90% of why I go to the movies is past work. I'm seeing Current War, Doctor Strange. Jojo Rabbit, Ragnarok, and Parasite via Snowpiercer and Captain America today. Can one argue Marvel helps original films? I mean, I suppose. Look, I've made the argument that Marvel helps original films in many, many different ways. Just by getting people back into the habit of going to the movie theaters, I believe helps original films.
Yeah.
Right? Like there are people who bought AMC A-List specifically for the Marvel movies and gone, hey, I got A-List. I should go see this Parasite movie. I should go watch this The Farewell movie. And now they're going to see these incredible movies, all done because of people wanting to go see the Marvel films. I think it helps it on several different levels, Rob. What do you think?
Well, yeah. I mean, look, if you fall in love with Chris Evans as Captain America and you see that he's in Knives Out, you're going to go see Knives Out. I mean, you like actors because of the roles that they're in. And I believe people or filmmakers, if filmmakers make, I mean, I will go see, they're building 21 Bridges, the movie that comes out with Chad Boseman, who plays a cop. You got Black Panther, a movie produced by the Russo brothers who directed Infinity War and Endgame. If you like those movies and you like Black Panther, why wouldn't you support people that you like?
You've talked before, too, about like, so many, especially when we were talking about the Marty Scorsese stuff, about all the different ways that, like, just having something that brings people in the theater helps all of movies.
Yeah.
And I think that's very much in play here and very much a part of it. So
yeah, people want to be excited about the films. And like now, November is a killer month for movies. I mean, it really is. By the way, for those of you who might be interested, Frozen 2 tickets went on sale.
That's right. It did. That movie's going to make a big chunk of change. I'm going to tell you that right now. All right. Next one up. Ryan Trabuco writes, I get the demographic and finance breakdown about the potential for a team to succeed in London for the NFL, but dear Lord, the Chargers, there is no other team that makes more sense. When you look at their current situation, they're not a bad little team. You got a marquee name with a Phillip Rivers there, and they don't really have a home right now. They're in LA, but this isn't their home. And it to me, it makes the most sense. TJS writes, any news about how The Mandalorian will be aired on non-Disney Plus countries? I'm a little worried. No news on the topic. I haven't heard a thing. To be honest, I honestly don't know.
Coming to a bootleg, coming to the Pirate Bay near you.
Look, we've been saying for a while, this is going to be the most bootlegged television show in history.
Yeah.
I mean, and Disney knows this. So I'm not encouraging it. I'm just saying, let's be honest, it's going to happen. And of course, but no, I haven't heard any news about that yet, Jake. That doesn't mean there isn't news about it. I'm saying I haven't come across it yet myself.
I'm convinced alien life is going to come to Earth because it's not going to be broadcast. It's going to be streamed. So even alien life is going to come to Earth so
just
they
to see the
can get bootleg of The Mandalorian.
Love it. All right. Let's see here. Massive Jada writes, who got the billions in the Disney Fox deal? Primarily the shareholders. The shareholders are the ones, they're the owners of the company. They're the ones who get the money. Hector Jeter writes, saw Parasite last night at a Regal. I was so used to A-List for so long that it felt weird paying for a ticket. I know exactly how you feel. Hector. I loved it. I wasn't expecting that third act. The third act is such a change of gears.
Oh, yeah.
It's so good, but I can totally relate because like when Ann and I go to iPick or I go to ArcLight, I suddenly got, wait a minute, I have to pay for a ticket because I'm so used to going to AMC with my A-list cards, like do. But it is different. But man, yeah, dudes, if you have not seen Parasite, like Rob, you love this movie, right?
I love this movie.
This movie is my second favorite movie of the year right now. It's so ridiculously good. And yeah, the third act, crazy. Again, it's Dirty Rotten Scoundrels, directed by Quentin Tarantino. That's what this movie is. Lanzo writes, Bear Grylls is back tonight with Brie Larson, Nat Geo. I've never watched this show, but apparently he does like this thing now where he takes a different celebrity every week and does some stupid survival thing with them, which it sounds like a fun idea.
You know, if you can watch celebrities eat hot sauce while they're being interviewed,
you can
survival
watch this.
shows, why not?
Why not? Next up here, Hector Jeter writes, do you consider the promotions you see after trailers promoting the theater service like A-List, Regal, Unlimited, or Cinemark Movie Club as commercials? Yes, I do. And because, again, you told me a movie started at 7. It's now 7:20, and you're still playing promotions for things? I paid to be here. Because first of all, they pay like 25 minutes of trailers, and then it's, now settle in for the movie. And while you're settling in, why don't you consider running out to the lobby and grabbing a soda? Become an A-list member. Do this, do that, scratch your balls, and do all these wonderful things with the beautiful thing that the AMC A-list card. Yes, that counts. And it continues to be bullshit. You want to play that, play it before the start time of the movie. I don't know. This bothers me, Hector. It bothers me. All right. Willow Yang writes, I've never seen bagged milk in Vancouver. Is it just an Eastern Canada thing? I've seen it in Vancouver. Rob, you look confused. Okay, so this came out yesterday. Here's the thing. In Canada, when I grew up, you don't go out to the store to get a carton of milk. You go to get a bag of milk. When I would go to the store, I get a bag that has, inside the bag is 3 individual plastic bags of milk. And what you do is every Canadian household would have a milk jug. So you just take one of the individual bags of milk out and just drop the bag in the jug and cut the corner off the top. And that's your milk. And it makes so much more sense. Like I came to the States, I'm like, let me get this straight. You put the milk in flimsy, chemically treated cardboard. Do I got that right? Makes no sense to me.
Because you had it in chemically treated plastic.
Well, no. The thing is, with air sealed plastic, it preserves the milk better without having to add preservatives. It's better environmentally because they recycle those bags, and they have less stuff and they just last longer, and it's just a far more convenient. And it takes up less space. It just makes far more sense. Like if you saw the glory of the plastic bags of milk and how much more makes sense than the stuff they do here. It makes far more sense. Far more sense. There are some things, you'd have to experience it, Rob. Because there are some things I come to the States and go, wow, they do this differently here. And yeah, this is better. But there are a couple things like bagged milk that I've go, no, the bagged milk system is so superior.
Wow,
anyway,
okay.
That's just my thought. All right. Coolsome XD writes, the Academy blocked a Nigerian film for Best International Feature for having too much English in it, but English is the Nigerian official language. Here's the thing, Coulson. That sounds like a headline, but I don't know all the details of the story, so I'm not going to react to something that I don't know, because I got a feeling there's much more to it than that. That just sounds like there's more to it than that. Because there are English-speaking films that have qualified for foreign... correct me if I'm wrong, Rob, isn't the Academy category not Best Foreign Film? Is the category not Best Foreign Language Film?
Yes.
There you go then. Yeah, it's not Best Foreign Film, it's Best Foreign Language Film. Maybe they need to change that category. Don't know, but that would explain that. So there's that. Mighty Tank 1 writes, in Canada, the Disney Plus website has a timer for when it launches, 6 a.m. Eastern time, so I'm guessing 3 a.m. where you guys live. 1 week away, yep. And I'm telling you, I'm planning now. My bedtime on November 11th is going to be 8 p.m. I'm going to get up at 2:45, watch some Mandalorian, go to the gym, come back, get ready for the John Campea Show. But I'm going to bed at 8 o'clock that night. I just can't stay up. I can't stay up because then I'll be just dead. I'd be completely dead the next day. But 1 week away, ladies and gentlemen, 1 week. Jordan Skinner writes, "Hey, John and crew, I just watched the first and second Terminator movies yesterday for the very first time, and all I can say is, wow." Rob, whenever somebody tells me about that, like I just watched The Godfather for the first time, or I just watched Lawrence of Arabia for the first time, what I feel is jealousy because they just did something we can never do again.
I know.
Which is watch those movies. Do you remember your first experience watching those films?
Yeah, I went to the Crossroads Cinema in Bellevue, Washington, when I saw Terminator first. And again, it was, it was what I call a soda stick theater because people had spilled so much. Soda stick is the stickiness that happens on the floor of a movie theater that's had so much soda stuck on it. I mean, I said that to Elizabeth the other day, my girlfriend, and she's like, "What are you talking about?" I go, "Soda stick." And she'd never heard that before. And I guess I grew up with that term, because you'd spill. It was before they had cup holders in the arms of new movie theaters.
I remember that, walking and you can hear the bottom of your shoe peeling off the floor with every step.
Every theater had, and the Crossroads Cinema was it was more of a dingy, it was 4 screens, but I would see these lower budget movies, anything Avco Embassy release, like I saw Escape from New York there, and I love that theater because I had so many great memories, and that's where I saw Terminator for the first time, and I loved it.
Glorious. All right, next up, James Welsh writes, "Midway comes out this weekend. I'm kind of excited for it. I'm looking forward to it because I love World War II films, but I have a horrible feeling it's going to be another Pearl Harbor. Are you looking forward to it? What are your expectations?" Listen, I'm not sure what to expect from it. All I know is that when I heard about the film, I was like, eh. And then when I saw the trailer, I went, ooh, that's the best way. So I'm not putting my expectations high, but it looks like fun. And it's Roland Emmerich, right?
Yeah.
And listen, for all the Independence Day 2s that Roland Emmerich does, remember Roland Emmerich about 6 years ago made this little movie about the guy, supposedly, according to the story, who actually wrote Shakespeare's stuff. I can't remember what the name of it was.
Yeah, why am I drawing a blank on that too? But I saw that movie in the theater.
It was really good. Like Roland Emmerich, he's got some chops when he wants to.
Yeah.
So can he blend the Roland Emmerich kind of stuff with that same thing he did with that Shakespearean movie? If he can, we could be in for something pretty special.
It's rough because I love World War II movies, and I grew up watching like the original Midway from the 70s and also Tora, Tora, Tora. And that was back in the day when they had real boats and real airplanes. And I love watching the aerial footage and coming off of Dunkirk, which had even the airplanes in Dunkirk were radio controlled when they weren't full scale planes. So it's weird. I think it's going to be weird to watch a big effects extravaganza where you're seeing all this CG planes attacking CG boats when it's not real. That's the one thing I'm like, can I buy into that after growing up watching these movies? But I love the Pacific Theater in World War II. I love these stories. I can't wait to see this movie. I hope it's good.
I heard a spoiler about it. Sung Kang is in it as Han. Turns out he's a Highlander immortal. There's blending 3 movie franchises in one right now.
Dude, that would actually be if Sun Kang was in the new Highlander.
That's why he doesn't die in that. That's why he doesn't die in the thing, because
Sun
he's
Kang
actually a Highlander immortal.
Han is not dead.
All right, last couple of ones with Rob here because he's got some things he's got to do. Jonathan Teft writes 1 of 2. Deadpool, Baby Driver, Venom, Jumanji, John Wick 3, and Joker are all great recent examples of movies showing that you don't need a massive budget to turn a big profit.
Yes.
How much longer must Hollywood go before they understand that blockbusters don't always have to cost around $200 million? Okay, so the first thing I'm going to say, though, Jonathan, in the defense of some of the bigger budget ones, because, I 100% agree with you. I 100% agree with you. Let me play devil's advocate for a second. There are some movies that by nature, if you're going to make them, they are just going to cost more. A Star Wars movie is just going to cost more. An Avengers movie is just going to cost more. But what I've said for a long time, Rob, is that District 9, the budget on District 9 was around $30 to $45 million. That is a photorealistic, aliens, visual effects heavy movie. And they made it for $30 to $45 million. There is no excuse for a movie costing $200 million to make. No excuse. And the reason this is an actual problem, because some people, well, John, why do you care how much the studio spend? It's not your money. Why does it matter? Here's why it matters. Because you and I do pay for it. You want to know why ticket prices year after year after year go up? Because the studios need to make more and more money to accommodate the higher and higher budgets that they make. Now, look, I'm not saying you could have made Avengers Endgame for $25 million. Obviously not. But it could have been made the exact same quality and all that kind of stuff for less than what they spent. And they have got to get a handle on this, because as long as that spending continues to spiral out of control, they're going to pass on the cost to you and me. That's where they get their money back from you and me. So don't go, there's nothing wrong with them spending that much money, and then complain.
Voice.
Okay. And then complain about how much it costs you to go to the movies. You don't get to do both. If you're going to complain about the cost of going to the movies, then start looking at this. There's a systemic problem about the overall expense of the industry as a whole. So, and look, some movies, Jonathan, are just going to be more expensive than others. But you're absolutely right. There are a lot of movies, Deadpool, Baby Driver, Jumanji, that you can make for a more rational amount of money and make bigger profits. Rob, bigger profits. I know. How would you respond to that?
Well, I think you're right. Ultimately, what we really want are great films. Great films are what we're interested in. And if movies cost more money and they don't do well, that hurts the whole industry overall. Because like with Terminator Dark Fate, I don't bear a movie. I want a movie like Terminator Dark Fate to work. But you know what? What a movie like that does is it gives everybody pause. And they wonder, what should we make next? And what shouldn't we make next? And it makes it harder to get all movies made because they have to make up that loss somehow. And I think that, whether movies are $200 million or whether they're $50 million or $25 million, I think as movie fans, we want all movies to be great. And look, 2 hours of your time is 2 hours of your time. And I think when you're watching a movie, you're not thinking to yourself, well, for this 2 hours, I'm going to see a film that costs $250 million, or for this 2 hours, I'm going to watch The Farewell. What's really important is, were those 2 hours entertaining to you? And does it really matter how much something costs? But what you really want is you want to be entertained, and you want the films that are made to be entertaining and work and make money for everybody, because then the industry is healthy and more films get made. Did that even answer the question?
Well said. I thought you put that very well, as a matter of fact. All right, Jonathan Teft asks another set one. He says, one of two, it's surprising how Dark Fate costs so much to make, considering it's directed by Tim Miller. Paramount should have remembered how he delivered Deadpool on a small budget and should have had him do the same for Dark Fate. Again, Deadpool didn't have a T8500BX Model 4, whatever it was that Luna played. That's a horse of a different color. Yeah, you had Colossus. Colossus wasn't as difficult to do as that Terminator. I listen though. I watched that movie and I don't mind this movie, but I don't see $185 million on the screen in Terminator Dark Fate. So I'm not really sure I can see why it's an expensive movie. The plane scene, the Terminator itself. I could see why it'd be an expensive movie. I didn't see $185 million on the screen though, Rob, did you?
Well, Arnold, James Cameron, people are taking their fees, their rights
big
issues.
Money
it's not like, Deadpool they kept it stripped down. But again, and everybody's got to take their piece. It's producer heavy. There's 6 writers.
Yeah, but it didn't come out on screen. They didn't put the money on screen. At least that's the way it looked to me. And last one here from Jonathan Teft, then we got to let Rob go. Jonathan writes, what movie are you most excited to rewatch on Disney Plus? I'm eager to rewatch one of Shia LaBeouf's earlier films, Holes. That one's pretty good, actually. I remember loving it as a kid, and I want to know if it still holds up. I remember going through the list of the library that they're launching on Disney Plus, but I don't remember it off the top of my head, so I don't know. It's a great question, but I don't know that I can remember it.
I got one.
Okay, what is it?
There's a Jodie Foster movie where she's like 12. And she
It's called
goes,
Taxi Driver. Did they put Taxi Driver on Disney Plus?
It's called Candle Shoe. And I
don't
saw
remember that
where
one.
she goes like this. I don't know if she's like an orphan girl or she goes to this old English manor. And I don't remember anything about it, but I remember like kind of having a crush on Jodie Foster as a kid, but I loved Candle Shoe, and I believe it's one of the launch movies on Disney Plus. I'm going to go have these weird nostalgia things, relive my childhood, watch movies like Candle Shoe. I saw all the Disney live action movies when I was a kid. Treasure of Matacumbe. I know that's on Disney Plus. Like the Apple Dumpling Gang and the Apple Dumpling Gang Rides Again. All these movies I would never get on home video.
I still don't remember Candle Shoe. What was the basic idea of that?
Well, that was it. She goes to this English, she's like an American kid, and she goes to England, and like it's her aunt or her grandmother, or so she has, and then she gets involved in money that's in some mystery, or I don't even remember. I can't remember the movie, but I saw it once when I was a kid, and I liked it. You know, I've always
put it on my list.
Put on list, and I think there's lots of those the North Avenue Irregulars and the Boatniks and all this crazy the Boatniks. Is Condor Man on? I want to watch Condor Man from 81?
You can find that on YouTube right now.
Oh,
you can
man.
find Condor Man on YouTube right now. All right, guys. Hey, listen, that will do it for Rob's station in here today. He's got a bunch of things he needs to get on to say. But Rob, where can people find you online?
You can find me on Twitter at BurnettRM. Find me on Instagram at RMBurnett, or find me on my own YouTube channel, The Burnett Work, and my show Robservations, the show about something.
And of course, you'll be back again tomorrow here on the John. We got two shows tomorrow. We've got the John Campea Show in the morning. Then we've got the Weekly Hero in the afternoon.
And then Ford v Ferrari.
And then we're seeing Ford v Ferrari. All right, Rob, thanks for being here, dude. We will talk to you tomorrow.
I'll see you tomorrow.
All right, guys, for the rest of us who are still here, we still got about 20 minutes to go, so let's keep on firing through your live questions. Next up comes to us from Jonathan Tefter, writes, did you see The Current War yet? I really enjoyed it. I'm surprised by the low review scores. I haven't had a chance to see it yet, and it's funny because I've been looking forward to seeing this movie for over 2 years. This movie was supposed to come out like 2 years ago, and then the whole Harvey Weinstein thing happened. They changed distributors, all this kind of stuff. It finally got a release date, and it lost all of its steam and lost all of its momentum. I haven't seen the reviews for it yet, but I have not had a chance to watch it yet, but I am going to because I've been just looking forward to it for too long. Jonathan Taft also writes, The Current War was shown at a film festival before it got pulled from release, so technically it is a 2017 movie. I doubt it gets nominated for anything, but is it even eligible for awards this year? Ooh. You know what? I think, technically speaking, I think it would be eligible for awards this year because I don't think just playing at a festival, I could be wrong about this, but I don't think just playing at a festival makes your film eligible. There's a couple specific rules, and I think it's got to play in a theater where a paying audience can go see it in Los Angeles and New York before the end of that Oscar-eligible year. And so if The Current War got put into a theater in LA, and then got put into, and if it hadn't yet been put into a theater in New York and a theater in LA where an average paying audience can go and watch it, then it may not have started its eligibility cycle yet. So I don't know for sure, but I suspect it would technically, possibly, be eligible for this upcoming Oscars. I'm not 100% sure, but it could work out that way. It's an interesting question, dude. All right. Sanilla writes, Disney Plus shows, Mandalorian specifically, will be streaming on other sites. In my country, it will be on Hotstar, which is owned by Disney. Yeah, so Hotstar, which is in India, everybody's telling me this Hotstar thing sounds amazing because apparently it's like $7 or like $3 a month or $5 a month, and it's like everything is on it, which is crazy. So it's good to hear that at least there, which has a Disney-owned property. So, but I don't know what happens in other countries where Disney Plus isn't launching, but Disney doesn't have an owned network yet. I don't know what the answer to that is yet, but we will find out soon enough. But thank you for letting us know what's going on in India, Sunila. All right. Pander writes, Defoe might get nominated for his third year in a row. He won't stop until he gets that win. What a beast that we seem to take for granted. Dude, I was just saying on the show the other day, look, everybody knows Willem Dafoe's a great actor, but I think we actually take that for granted just how good he is. And when you go and see, particularly a movie like Lighthouse, and see his performance in it, which is stupid good. And ye haven't, says I. When you see him, like, he is mesmerizing in it. You are absolutely right. We absolutely take Willem Dafoe and just how good he is for granted. I know I'm guilty of it. Because this is one of the things I thought come walking out of Lighthouse is, oh my God, this guy is so good. And I don't think we appreciate just how good he is. Because we all know he's good. That we don't appreciate just how good he is. You're absolutely right. All right, Brandon Blake writes, Paramount just announced their next slate of movies. Mission Impossible 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and 15. Love the show, guys. Rob, keep the beard, man. I think he might. I think he's rocking that deer. Listen, I said this the other day, and it's so true. For Paramount, Bumblebee 2 and Mission Impossible films cannot get here fast enough. They need to get these movies into theaters just as fast as they possibly can. They absolutely do. And it's funny, Brandon, but you're absolutely right. Dominic French writes, is there any reason you cannot have both an artistic and franchise film in one package? I don't agree with Martin Scorsese's idea of what makes film art, but competitive ideas can make movies better. Listen, I think we have seen some of those. I absolutely 100% believe Logan is one of those movies. Logan is a total franchise film, but I thought it was, at its heart, it is a passionate story about a man. It really is. It's just the passionate story of a man. I'm talking about Logan and the intricate and complicated relationships he has in his life with Xavier, with his own history, and now with a little girl. I think The Dark Knight transcended those limits as well. So I 100%, Dominic, I think you're right about that. 100%. Though you can blur those lines. It's difficult. It's difficult. Because it ain't easy to make a really great artistic film, and it's not easy to make a really good franchise film, and it's almost impossible to make them both at the same time. It's not easy, but we've got examples of that they can be done, and I think we'll see moving forward more do come about. They're hard though. Let's not take for granted just how hard it is though. We as film fans are often guilty of thinking, oh, that's easy. Why don't they just make a good movie? It's so easy. It's not easy. It's one of the hardest things in the world to make a good movie. And we as film fans take that very much for granted. And that's why I think we really need to appreciate it when they do turn out a pretty good film, because it's not easy, man. All right, Ryan Lohner writes, I love how much you can see the seeds of Battlestar Galactica in Ronald D. Moore's Star Trek scripts. Even his very first one has the premise, what if a red shirt died and people actually cared? A lot of people forget that Ronald Moore, who, by the way, has his new show on Apple TV Plus right now, which is one of the few things I've been interested in on the network, and Rob's been looking forward to it a lot. Yeah, he got his start doing Star Trek, man. And you're right, which is funny because you don't see a lot of Star Trek in Battlestar Galactica. But in Ronald D. Moore's scripts on Star Trek, you can see Battlestar Galactica in his Star Trek stuff. It's kind of weird that it works that way, but it's a great observation, Ryan. I completely agree. Brandon Blake writes, will they ever fix the Hulk back in the MCU? I don't know. I think they might move on from Hulk. Look, what they did with Hulk is an element I don't like. I loved Endgame. I love Infinity War. But that doesn't mean I liked every little thing about it. And one of the things that sticks out to me that I was not a fan of is I really do not like, and the more time that passes, the more I dislike it, what they did with Hulk. And again, I don't know if the Russo brothers, that some kid dressed up as the Hulk and then bullied them, that they hated the Hulk so much that they wanted to neuter the Hulk. I mean, again, I go back to this a lot, but you've heard me talk about it. I don't know if they'll ever go back and fix it. I don't know. Maybe they don't even think it needs fixing. And maybe there are fans who don't think it. Look, just because I didn't like it, that doesn't mean there aren't other people that liked it. So I don't know. I don't think they will fix it. I wish they would, though. Bames John writes, hello there. Hope you're having a great day. I am so far, thanks to people like you, Bames. In your opinion, who's the better villain? Shooter McGavin from Happy Gilmore or White Goodman from Dodgeball? For me, they are both perfectly despicable. Man, those are two, and I'm forgetting the name of the dude, but I remember I ran into him like just a year ago. The guy, he and I were actually ended up being in the same restaurant together, and I went up and chatted with him for a bit. Anyway, I'm going to go White. Nobody makes me bleed my own blood. I love Happy Gilmore, but I prefer Dodgeball, and Ben Stiller's Goodman is one of the reasons why. So I'm gonna go with that. Okay, Ranger 8 writes, I want to see Luke leading the charge with those horses, with those horse-type creatures. Hey, listen, I just want to see Luke. Just let me see Luke. And oh my God, if Luke is actually not dead, I'm going to lose my frickin' mind. Coolsome XD writes, in the Joker movie, Arthur/Joker dances a lot, but he never dances with the devil. Do you ever dance with the devil in the pale moonlight? What? I don't know. It's just something I say to all my prey. That's a good one. All right, James Argento writes, 1 week to Mandalorian. Dude, the countdown is on. 1 week from this moment, many of us will have already watched the first episode of The Mandalorian. And just a reminder, guys, that we, Ann and I, are going to be doing a Mandalorian review show. So every episode of The Mandalorian, we'll do a review later on that evening, talking totally open with spoilers and everything about Mandalorian. So keep your eyes open for that when Ann and I do that. But it's 1 week away. King T'Challa writes, yesterday I was talking about 2018, The Nightingale. Oh, that's right. Okay. Amazing performances, but definitely hard to watch. It's on Hulu. Yeah, because I remember you brought that up. I'm like, which Nightingale? Because I know there was a bunch of different Nightingales. I went over to IMDb. And it's like, there's a whole list of Nightingales. That one does make sense. I'm not really even familiar with that one, but it might be something I need to keep my eyes on. So I'll keep my eyes open for that. Thank you for following up on that, King T'Challa. All right, Everborn Saga writes, wait, so Apple TV Plus doesn't have any licensed content, and they launched with only 12 pieces of original content. Why would anyone want this? Well, listen, Everborn, you asked that question, but the reality is this. I know a hell of a lot of people that have signed up for Disney Plus. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff on there. There is. But I know a lot of people that the reason they're signing up for Disney Plus is because Mandalorian is launching. That's it. That's it. There's more coming, and there's a bunch of library stuff on there, sure, and that's all appealing. But let's be honest. A lot of us are signing up for day one. I mean, because look, if Mandalorian wasn't launching with a certain, I'd probably wait 6 months, a year. I don't know. I'd eventually get it. But we say that, hey, man, it's only launching with C and the Morning Show and whatever the other ones are. They've launched with a couple of them. But the reality is a hell of a lot of us are signing up for Disney Plus right now because Mandalorian. So it's really not that strange when you think about it. And if there are 3 or 4 shows you really like on Disney or Apple TV Plus, isn't that worth $5 a month? Probably is. Probably is. I mean, back in the day, when there was a show that I really wanted to see, I would often pay $2 an episode to buy the episodes on iTunes, right? And there's a lot of people that did that. So I ended up spending $8 a month just for one show, for 4 episodes for one show a month. $5 for if you think these are 4 really good shows, it's probably worth it. So it's really not all that confusing when you really consider that most of us are signing up for Disney Plus right now just for Mandalorian. All right. Bryce Bradford writes, the song Goodbye Stranger that Michael Scott sang as Goodbye Toby is used in an ad for Carell's show with Jennifer Aniston. No relation. Funny to hear, though. I don't remember that, and I don't think I've seen that. I don't think I've seen the show in question is Apple TV show, The Morning Show. That's what it's called. That is getting some really good reviews. I haven't started watching it, but I will. I'm about to start watching it. Haven't seen it yet myself, but it's getting very, very good reviews. So I don't remember that song specifically. I don't remember that moment in the office specifically, and I don't remember seeing that ad for the show specifically. But now that you've brought it up, Bryce, you know I got to go look it up to see if that's true. All right. Anthony C. writes, saw Terminator Dark Fate, and I liked it. I felt Linda Hamilton gave some emotional weight to the film that I feel was always missing from the post-T2 sequels. I agree. One of the things I really thought coming out of Terminator Dark Fate, which again, I didn't think was great, but I thought was a good movie. By the way, most of the audience seems to like it too. But what I came out thinking was, yeah, what's been missing from Terminator since Terminator 2 has been Linda Hamilton. That's what's been missing. Again, it still didn't make the movie great. I still don't think the movie was great. But that's what I really realized. It wasn't Arnold that was missing. And Arnold's great. It was missing Linda Hamilton. And having Linda Hamilton in there really made it feel like Terminator again. Again, it's not great, but it made it watchable for me, and I can't say that about any other Terminator film since Terminator 2. Let's see. Everborn Saga writes, 1 of 3. My 2 favorite movies this year were Jojo Rabbit and Parasite. Those are my top 2 right now as well. I only know about these movies because of the directors, because one of the directors did Ragnarok. Well, there you go. I mean, somebody else was bringing that up a little bit earlier too. Anyway, Everborn goes on to say in part 2, and the other did Snowpiercer with Captain America. Also, I can't wait to see Lighthouse. Guess why? I think Scorsese discounts the ancillary attention superhero movies bring to other films. I don't know, though, that was ever his point. I don't know if that was ever his point. Now, what you're saying, Everborn, is completely true. And I think on top of that, the other things, like, again, we've had people on the John Campea Show, viewers write in and say, I got my A-list so I can go and watch Avengers Endgame. And now since I've got A-list, I've started to go watch movies that I wouldn't have gone to see before. And now people are growing their appreciation for cinema. Why? Because of a comic book movie. It's just, there are a lot of these consequential benefits that we get, that the entire theater industry gets because of comic book movies. In an era where the theater is struggling to get people out in the same numbers that they did in the past, we've got a genre film that, to a degree, almost guarantees getting people into the theaters. And once you get people in the theaters, if they have a good time, it increases the chances of them coming back. Whether it's because now I've got an A-list card, or whether because I love these people involved with this comic book movie and now they're involved with this movie, so I want to go see that. I think there's a lot of consequential benefits there, Everborn. So I'm totally with you on that, and I totally agree. All right, next up, Anthony C. writes, if you could put either film in production tomorrow, which would you rather see? Burton's Batman 3 or Raimi's Spider-Man 4? Raimi's Spider-Man 4. Now look, I'm, like most people, I'm not a big fan of Raimi's Spider-Man 3, but it would have been neat to see how it could have rebounded. John Malkovich was going to be Vulture in Spider-Man 4. I would have been on board for it. So I think, now don't get me wrong, it's not that I would have been turned off by Burton's Batman 3, not in the least, but I think if I had to choose between those two, Anthony, I would have gone with Spider-Man 4 to see how he could have rebounded from the events of Spider-Man 3. Anthony C. also writes, what's the last movie you bought on physical media? Last movie I bought on physical media might have been The Raid 2. Yeah, I'm going to go The Raid 2. I think The Raid 2 was probably the last one I bought on physical disc that I got downstairs. Interesting question. I had to think about that. Let's see here. KB writes, this new season of Jack Ryan is amazing. I still haven't started watching it yet. Have you caught up with it? Nope. Wish we could have a spoiler talk for it. Nope. I know Rob has just started watching it. He says it's really good. I haven't had but again, look, I haven't started watching Watchmen yet. I got to get caught up on that. I just watched the first episode of Dark Materials. There's a number of things I need to get caught up on. By the way, Mayans MC got renewed for season 3. I'm very excited about that. I love this show. Not quite as much as Sons of Anarchy, but it's a really good show, and I believe the season finale is tonight. And I was so excited. I was worried that it wasn't going to get renewed. I'm very happy that they did. Jared Oberfeld writes, part 1. Cool Terminator Dark Fate trivia fact. The film's version of Skynet is called Legion. Tim Miller served as special effects producer on the game Mass Effect 2, which introduced a robot named Legion. Main series Mass Effect games are awesome on PC. You know, my Dennis played a lot of Mass Effect, and I know he loved it. I never played the Mass Effect stuff myself, but that is interesting. No, I never knew about that connection to the video game franchise. That is an interesting little piece of trivia. Thank you for sharing that. Kyle McCaskill writes, Marty to Feige, you can't write, you can't direct. Why do I hear 10 times a day what a genius Feige is? What do you do? No, I don't think that. Listen, if anybody, Marty Scorsese has worked with some of the greatest producers in the world. if anybody appreciates the work, and by the way, he's got a close team of producers that he's worked with very closely over his career. If there's anybody in the business who very much appreciates the work of a great producer, it's Marty Scorsese. He understands that. He really, really does. Hadid Cortez writes, saw Mojo, you meant Jojo Rabbit, for third time yesterday. I love it more every time. Maybe my all-time favorite movies. How does it compare on your all-time favorites? It's too far too early for me to call an all-time. Don't know. I refuse to even make a movie a part of my consideration for my all-time top 10 until it's been out for at least a year. Because you gotta let it sit for a bit. I do not think Jojo Rabbit's going to crack my top 10 all-time favorites, but who knows? A year from now, I may grow my appreciation for it even more and more and more and more. We'll see. As of right now, it is my number one favorite movie of the year. So I think my top 5 right now would be, and don't hold me to this. I'm just saying, maybe right now off the top of my head, my top 5 of the year right now. Probably Jojo Rabbit, number 2, Parasite, number 3, Booksmart, number 4, The Farewell. And what would I slide in that 5th position right now? I'm not sure. I gotta think. I have to think about it a little bit more. But as far as all time, I don't think it's going to end up being on my list. But give me at least a year. Let it gestate for at least a year, and then we'll see where it goes. Hadid Cortez. Oh, that was Hadid. Sorry about that. Hector Jeter writes, over under 10%, we get an Art of Ray content on the Discord server before we get to do Movie Club. It is coming. I'll talk to Ray today. I'm going to get Ray plugged up on that today. We're going to start getting the Art of Ray put up. By the way, for those of you who don't know, we have our Discord server for our Patreon supporters. Just so you guys, we went to do our post-show chat yesterday, and my Discord thing just totally froze up. I jumped in and said, hey, everybody. And as soon as I did, my Discord thing froze up. So anyway, now today, we try to do the John Campea post-show chat at least 3 times a week. Today, there won't be one because I got to get ready. As soon as we're done, I got to do the segments, and then I got to start getting ready for Dark Side, Light Side. Christian's coming over. We got to get ready for that show, so there's that. But yes, the Art of Ray is one of the channels on there, and Ray will start uploading that stuff in there. Don't worry, I'll get on him about that, Hector. I really will. Let's see. Double Crit writes, still planning to see Harriet despite the drama. I don't even know what the drama is, but yes, I'm planning on seeing Harriet, but I have no idea what the drama is. Last question today, guys. Then I gotta get moving here. John Nelson writes, there is a countdown on the Disney Plus preview page that is launched at 3 a.m. Yep, we talked about that a little bit already. Very, very excited, sir. Very, very excited. All right, we already took that, so we'll take one more here. Kyle Grinder writes, you always say movie budgets is getting out of hand. Then why doesn't production companies try to keep costs down to get bigger return on profit? Listen, there is a multitude of reasons. They just spend too much. And there's also a little, it's too much to get into right now, but basically this. A lot of the times a movie's production budget is about what they pay themselves. For example, and there have been lawsuits over this in the past, but for example, a studio will have its own art department. The art department, part of the studio, bills the other department in the same studio for their time. So what does the studio do? They say, and they make this exorbitant fee that their art, again, this is just an example. The art department our own art department charged us this amount of money. That goes towards the budget. And it's a huge, anyway, there's a lot of different reasons for it. But again, there are many, many movies that have come out that have shown that if you really roll up your sleeves and do it right and do the work, these things can be made for much less money. Now, I'm not saying you can make Avengers for $70 million. I'm not suggesting that at all. There are some movies that just cost a lot more, but it didn't need to cost as much as it did. Anyway, that's just kind of my thought on that. All right, hey, listen. For everybody else in here, from Russell, Newman, Voltron, Coulson, Christopher Bigelow, and everybody else all the way down, do not worry. Your questions are getting answered today in a video. I'm going to do a companion video later tonight after me and Christian do Dark Side, Light Side. So all your questions that you sent in are going to be answered in the companion video a little bit later. So thank you for sending them in, and don't worry, they are getting answered. All right, guys, that will do it for today's installment of the John Campea Show. Thank you guys so much for being here. And as I just mentioned, don't forget, later this afternoon, 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, that's 5 p.m. on the East Coast, Christian Harloff and I, first episode of our new show, Dark Side, Light Side. Make sure you come on by and hang out with us as we do that. Special thanks to Robert Meyer Burnett for being here. And guys, thanks to all of you for being here and making this show a part of your day. We appreciate it to no end. And of course, to you guys who sent in the questions, not just because you gave us great fun things to talk about, but also because you supported the channel along the way as you did it. And all of us here at the John Campea Show, thank you for that deeply. All right, guys, that will do it for me for now for this installment of the John Campea Show. We'll be back again tomorrow. Join us a little bit later for Dark Side, Light Side. Keep your eyes open for the companion video. All sorts of good stuff. We're 1 week away, guys. 1 frickin' week away from The Mandalorian, and I can feel my goosebumps building up right now. Anyway, guys, that'll do it for me for now. Thanks so much for being here. My name is John Campea, and until next time, bye-bye.